Good evening. Yes, I know you're used to hearing good morning, but it is 7:11 at night. And this is the video for Thursday. What's the date on Thursday? The 6th of October. I've already done the one for today, Wednesday, the 5th of October. Anyway, I will be traveling in the morning, so I'm doing it tonight, and once it's loaded, I'm packing up my computer and getting it ready for the trip, and the next video will be done from the fine state of Virginia sometime either tomorrow or Friday morning. I'm not sure whether I will do it in the evening or wait till Friday morning to do it. I may do it tomorrow night. Anyway, as I told you in this morning's video, things are going to be a little bit different over the next few days while I'm traveling. Today's video, or tonight's video, is called Ninth Wave, Capitalism, Fiat Currency, and More. And my little blurb goes like this. Let's get one thing straight. Capitalism and a free market economy are not the same thing. There is no free market in capitalism. Furthermore, there is nothing inherently wrong with a fiat currency, except when it is created by an elite establishment for its own benefit to the detriment of the majority. Remember, he who has the gold makes the rules. Who do you think has the gold, if not the same elite establishment that already abuses its power? I gave hints of this in this morning's talk, following the talk that I had with my brother, who believes that the protests in Wall Street are ultimately going to hurt a lot of people, because if we bring down Wall Street, we bring down the entire economy, and that hurts everybody. What my brother and many people do not understand is that they mistake capitalism for a free market economy. A free market economy allows people to behave freely, to engage in commerce according to what is good and right, as long as there's no fraud committed. And that's a big issue. Free market has to say, well, you can be free as long as you don't defraud anyone. Fraud is fraud, and that there are always common laws against defrauding. And yet in our capitalistic society, the capitalists that control the entire system operate totally on fraud, and they only punish fraud when someone competes with their dominance of the system. Capitalism, as we've known it in this world, is put up on a pedestal as if it's the way economies are supposed to be run. But we haven't seen a free market culture, a free market society in our world. We haven't seen that, because it hasn't existed, at least for the last 100+ years. It has not existed. It existed in the 19th century in the United States to a large degree, at least, well, yes, even up into the 20th century. There was basically a free market culture. The bankers hadn't totally taken over the system, actually, until 98 years ago, in 1913. They were working on it, but they hadn't mastered it, and they've been mastering it through the entire 20th century up till the present time. And now it's collapsing. That's why we have the demonstrations on Wall Street and the occupations and the lashing out against the Federal Reserve and against the central banks, as rightly it should be, because that's where the problem is. The problem is not that we have a free market society and we're trying to create a socialist empire. That's not my goal, and I hope it's not your goal. Yet I do see a society that takes care of the weakest among us and makes sure that nobody gets left out, nobody gets put down, that everyone has a as much as possible a level playing field to play upon, and everyone gets a fair shot at running his or her life according to the dictates of his or her own conscience and consciousness. What we have created in our world is far from that. Look at the poverty. Look at the devastation. Look at the war. Look at the insanity of man treating other men horribly, and people that are innocent people taking jobs and taking money for mistreating their brothers and sisters, such as the soldiers and the police. The elite do not soldier. The elite do not police. They hire people to do the dirty work for them. And the guilty ones are not as much the ones that actually carry out the task as the ones that pay and order the tasks to be done. That's where the problem lays in our culture, and we need to focus on that. We need to see where the problem actually is, or we'll never be able to fix it. Now, Ron Paul and others for years, and those of you that have listened and paid attention to my comments and to things that I've said and written over the past months while I've been doing these Ninth Wave videos, know that Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich are probably two of my greatest in-government idols, heroes, not idols, heroes, because they are people of integrity, even though one is a conservative and one is a liberal. It doesn't make any difference because they stick to their principles. They are both constitutionalists. Ron Paul is known as a strict constitutionalist, and he's always been an advocate of gold or silver or precious metal-backed currency based on the Austrian school of economics as opposed to the Keynesian school of economics. And he follows the teachings of the Mises Institute, which is the Austrian school. What he fails to realize is that the people that have accumulated the gold are the very people that have run the fiat currencies. They have kept what they consider the real wealth, the gold and the silver, while they've created paper for everybody else to use. So if we go to a gold-backed society, a gold-backed currency, and a silver-backed currency, or a platinum-backed currency, if we go to a currency based on natural resources, what do we have? The people that have the natural resources will still be in control, even if it's a gold-backed currency. You understand that that's not a solution? That's not a solution. The solution is the leadership sucks, pure and simple. The leadership are selfish, self-centered, greedy, arrogant. They have a passion for ruling the world and controlling everyone else. They live on fear, and they use fear to dominate others. Do you understand the world we live in? It's not a question of switching from a fiat currency to a gold-backed currency. That's not the answer to our problems. Even though Ron Paul is well-meaning, it's not been thought out. There are cultures that have had fiat currencies that operate beautifully, even in today's world. Not many of them, but there are a few. Is it the Isle of Rhodes or the Isle of Wight or something like that in the British Isles that has used a fiat currency for years? And there are, if you study the history of money, you'll know that fiat currencies can work very well. Lincoln issued the greenbacks during the Civil War. That was a fiat currency. And if they had been allowed to continue it and the bankers hadn't taken it over, it would have created the greatest prosperity in the world history, because it would have been based on a free market society where the government did its role of creating the money according to what needed to be done within the culture. They didn't overproduce or underproduce. They just created what was necessary to run the economy and to keep everything moving smoothly. Capitalism does not keep anything moving smoothly. It purposefully creates highs and lows, and the capitalists make money when things go down or when things go up. They have the system rigged for their benefit and their benefit alone, to the detriment of everyone else. You need to understand that it doesn't matter what monetary system we use, and there's people calling for no monetary system at all. Well, I doubt that that's going to be able to happen immediately. There's going to be needed a bridge between where we have been and where we are going. Although ultimately we're going to figure out how not to have any currency at all. It won't be necessary because every need will be provided for every person according to his or her consciousness. That's the way the world is supposed to work. That's the way other worlds work, according to what I'm told from channeled messages and other sources of information that I follow. So I want it to be made very clear to every one of you that while Ron Paul is right on in challenging the Federal Reserve, and he's been doing that all along, and he's been consistent, in going and preaching against a fiat currency, if he would do his homework, he'd understand that fiat currency is not the problem. The Fed is the problem. The international bankers are the problem. Greedy people in politics are the problem. I repeat it again. That's where the problem lays. It lays right there at the feet of those that have been trying to run our world for their own benefit. And an unjust system has developed out of that called the Matrix, in which we are all slaves and have been slaves. Now we're waking up. That's what the revolt in Wall Street, the occupation of Wall Street, and the revolts around the world are going on. People want food. They want fairness. They want justice done. And justice has to come, but it has to come with mercy, so that even those that have been responsible for our awakening are not punished if they repent, which means stop doing what they've been doing. There's an attitude adjustment coming, and an attitude adjustment that's totally necessary to come. That's what it's going to take in this revolution of our evolution of consciousness. We need to grasp that as long as the weakest one among us suffers, no one really prospers. It's just an illusion. There is no separation. That is the consciousness that's driving this whole thing. This whole scenario is being driven by unity consciousness in opposition or in contrast to a separation consciousness where everybody's out for him or herself. This is what needs to change in our world, and we need to understand that. We can have peace on earth if we stop making war profitable. If we stop paying people to do injustice to other people and to kill other people and to steal from other people. If we obey the real golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, if that was the golden rule we were obeying and following the dictates of our conscience and our hearts, then we would be creating a world far different than the one we've been living in. We wouldn't allow these crazy leaders to get away with their BS. We wouldn't allow it. And that's what's happening. That's what I trust is going on in this ninth wave. That we are finally waking up and we're finally being able to see with clarity the issues that we face. And we will come up with solutions. I personally believe that the world trusts are going to be released and everybody's going to be a millionaire. Everybody. That's not socialism. That's leveling the playing field. It's the way it's supposed to be. It's the Jubilee. All debts are forgiven. And everything is wiped clean. All the slaves are set free. That's what's happening. Saturday is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Let the Day of Atonement come when we are at one with each other, at one with our God, and at one with life itself. Let that day come, and let the Jubilee be sounded, so that we can all be free. There needs not be any more capitalism, no more empire. It doesn't matter what currency we use or if we use none at all. It doesn't matter. What matters is the intent of the heart and the willingness of the human soul and the human being to be right, to treat his fellow man and to do right by his fellow man. For if we do right by each other, and if we love ourselves, we will love our neighbors. But we can't love ourselves if we keep capitalism going. Let's move on to a true free market, a true free society, where every man and woman is able to follow his or her heart and trust his or her gut into the future. Thank you for listening. Namaste.